What's up, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, the trade war between the U.S. and China, heating up. Right now, Chinese central bank devalues yuan by 0.6%. So this is to counteract the tariffs by the U.S. And they're just trying to make their currency cheaper, to make exports cheaper for countries buying their goods, to counteract that. The benefit is going into Bitcoin. I'm going to show you a chart that shows how this devaluation is going hand in hand with this current spike up in the price of Bitcoin that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So let's take a look at that. Take a look at some levels that we looked at from our last video and see where Bitcoin is headed. All right, guys, so let's dive into this.
Trade Genius.
All right, guys, so People's Bank of China said on Tuesday it had decided to devalue the yuan's exchange rate to the US dollar by 0.6% amid the ongoing trade war with the United States. So if we take a look at Bitcoin, now this turquoise or bluish line represents the dollar yuan cross, and it doesn't really correlate with Bitcoin in the big picture. But now if we drill down to the daily, so what this means is if because it's a dollar cross, so if it's going up, then the value of the yuan is going down. Okay, so going up is devaluation for China. Coming down means it's gaining value against the dollar. So what we saw was, as we come out of this bottom here on Bitcoin, right, we break through this resistance level around 4,200, break out of that. The yuan is still going down. Then back here on May 2nd, we get this very sharp move up. So the devaluation starts in, and Bitcoin goes right up with it. And if you've been in Bitcoin long enough, you'll know that when the Chinese are buyers of Bitcoin, it's pretty voracious, and so much so on this move that it's really blown away the comparison coming out of the 2015 bear market bottom. When you're blowing away levels like this 6,400 area where you have this huge volume node and you just slice through it like butter, I mean, that fundamentally is changing the dynamics of the market. So that's, I wanted to make you aware of kind of the forces at play here and why this move was so sharp. I think this had a huge play in that. And it's actually for you Bitcoin bulls and hodlers, this is a great sign, because this is showing you that the flight to safety, capital safety, is going into Bitcoin to hedge against inflation for the Chinese, the rich Chinese. And I've worked with a Chinese realtor in the past, and she told me there's no problem with those guys gaining their capital out of the country. It's not an issue. They see the inflation coming. If your currency is going to devalue, everything that you have to purchase in your currency is going up. And if you have millions or billions, you want to hedge that. And I've always said Bitcoin is the greatest inflation hedge of our time. So seeing this is to me really telling. I think really key. We have certain periods in Bitcoin's history that I think are going to be very key. And I think this one is a huge one, because we've always, speculated that once we start seeing this type of movement and this type of dynamic where we see a flight to safety to Bitcoin, that's where the precedent is going to be set, and things will change rather quickly, I think, for the appreciation of Bitcoin. So now let's take a look at the prior levels that we've seen. All right, guys, so if we look at our previous levels, what we talked about was hunting these prior tops on from the bear market coming down. So we came up, we hit 7,400, briefly paused there on the daily, and then broke through it again. A lot of these are happening on the overnight session for the US, so that's when the Asian markets are open, China's open. Also another tell on them being active in the market. And then we came up, we made a high at 8,350 overnight, and that was just shy of this 8,470 high. So not uncommon to get a little shy near these levels, pull back, consolidate some more like we see here, and then break through. I don't think this move is over yet. On the weekly, there's really, if we look at the technicals down here below, haven't really seen a bearish divergence yet on the weekly. We did make a high here. It pulled back and then broke higher. And currently this, we'll have to wait how this weekly bar closes. And if it doesn't close or it's equal highs here, that'll be a hidden divergence. If it does make a higher reading from this prior week back in the beginning of April, then that's not really a divergence. So we'll keep an eye on that as the week ends. We are a bit overbought on the stochastic cross. The trend line is moving up strongly though, and those will last a while on a strong move up. If we go down to the daily, now on the daily, we have started to put in a bearish divergence. We had this reading back on the 11th, 3 days ago. We've pushed higher and RSI isn't playing along, so that is something to keep an eye on. However, we could see another push higher and yet another lower RSI reading. So it's just something to keep an eye on. But to me, that's a heads up that this move may be getting close to an end. And if we were to pop through this level here, there's not a lot in the way to get up to this 10,000 area. The prior high was 9,948. And, again, with the amount of buying that's coming in, I don't see that as being too much of an issue to get to those levels. If we look at the volume, all right, so turn on the volume here, guys. And I mean, this is a strong move on volume. Again, I think this is China. I think this is some of the bigger Chinese players getting out while their currencies being devalued, running to an appreciating asset like Bitcoin. So again, daily heads up on the divergence, but volume is so strong right now. We'd have to see a drop off in volume, I think, on subsequent moves up to really say that this could roll over. One thing I will be looking for, guys, and this is going to be real telling, is going to be on the daily bar. You're going to be looking for, especially if we get a long wick, okay? So if we go back to 2015, let's roll back. Okay, coming out of 2015, guys, this is the kind of action would give you a big heads up where you have this long wick like this. Then it comes back down. Quite oftentimes, that's going to be the top of the move. And this is coming out of 2015. And as you can see, we're kind of seeing something similar like what we're seeing here. But a lot of times, rising volume, you'll see that kind of blow off move. So keeping tabs on that, that's what I'm keying in on. I think once we see that move there, I think then you'll probably be looking for that pullback. But keep it in mind, guys, I think a lot of people were expecting to be able to buy Bitcoin back, in the 5,000s. And we have to keep in mind the strength of this move through this level at 6,400. You may not get that opportunity. So when you see that 30 or 40% pullback, maybe a lot higher than what people were anticipating. Again, we won't really know until this tops out, but don't get in the way of this right now unless you're very nimble, because again, Bitcoin, you have to remember, it's a finite product, and the way that the exchanges have to manage their balances and the order ladders and things like that. When the demand gets like this, that's what causes these parabolic moves. And Bitcoin's pretty unique in that respect. So again, let's see if we can get a little bit of a blow off on the daily. I fully expect that's a probable outcome from this move. Doesn't have to happen, but I think it's a probable outcome. And it would not surprise me if we did spike up near this 10,000 prior resistance level here at this top. So just bear that in mind, guys. Until then, it's just going to be nimble swing trades. We'll be covering that in the room. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that helps. Please hit like and subscribe. And if you're interested in any of our indicators, like the moneymaker here, head over to tradelikeagenius.com and check those out. All right, guys. See you on the next video. Take care. Bye.
Trade Genius.